So basically, what we're talking about today is, I'm hosting Open WebUI right now locally on my MacBook. I can really only use the smallest models like Phi 3 because I need a much more powerful system, which would kind of be expensive to run the larger models. And then also there's other downsides like I'm not going to have backups and it's harder to access it from other devices, et cetera, et cetera. So we're talking about today setting up Open Web UI on a cloud hosting provider, but in a manner that it is private and secure only to me. So that I still have the same privacy and security as I would have if it was hosted on my local machine. And then I'll be able to host local AI models, meaning host models on DigitalOcean, which is the host that we're choosing. And I'll also be able to use the APIs for systems like OpenAI and Grok to access, all the models they have, or perhaps Together AI or other API providers at the future. Just knowing that whenever I'm using an API and not using a local model that's being hosted, with DigitalOcean on my private and secure cloud, I may be sending information out to those APIs.
Yes.
So I guess one question I do have around that is, do you know if I'll still be able to use like a laptop model? Like right now, I can run Phi 3 on my laptop. So like when I go to Open Web UI, will I be able to still use the models that are on my laptop, or will I only be able to use the DigitalOcean hosted model or the API models?
You will be able to use your local hosted models, but you'll have to expose it through HTTPS URL. Like when you run any model locally, I guess you are using Olama to run your
Correct.
local host models. When you run locally, they'll give you this API link and it starts with localhost something, right? The URL. So, and because your Open WebUI now will be hosted on DigitalOcean server, their local host it's different than yours, so you'll have to provide publicly, maybe using the one that I shared with you in Grok. You can use this. It will create this tunnel. It's basically like you expose your local host AI publicly. Anyone can access it through that. With
But
this
I
way,
can
you can.
also keep that private, right? So what you're saying is if I want to use a model that's downloaded onto my laptop, I'm going to need to expose it via an API so I can API into that model on the laptop and I can use it privately and securely. I could open that up to the public, but I could also keep it private and secure over the internet just to me.
So okay, yes, in you can do it, but using this in Grok, for example. Yeah, unless you subscribe to their I think they have this paid subscription. You can create this secure tunnel between your local host and between, if you integrate, for example, on hosted OpenWebUI on DigitalOcean, you can create the secure tunnel, and it's going to be like secured API between hosted OpenWebUI on DigitalOcean and your local host model.
Yep. Right. So this is going to be the best of all worlds, is how I look at it. I will still be able to use a model that's hosted locally on my laptop if I want to.
Yeah.
I will be able to use any model, any open source model, I'll be able to download and use on my own private cloud that's private and secure to me. So I know that there's no data going outside of my cloud. And then I will also be able to use the publicly available APIs from closed source model providers like OpenAI or Claude or people like that, just knowing that anytime I'm using an API that is not either APIing into my local computer, my MacBook, or my private cloud at DigitalOcean, I know that information is being sent out to that large language model so it can provide the answers to me.
So, okay, hosted OpenWebUI, it's going to work the same as you run this locally. So
Yep.
whatever you get, all the features that you have locally installed Open WebUI, the same features will be on your hosted Open WebUI.
Yep.
So it's the same, and you 100% control your hosting where this Open WebUI like lives. Basically, it's their server. You can delete it anytime. You can pause it anytime. You can, like, if anything happens, you can increase, downgrade, delete it, update it, whatever you like. You can see
Move it
all
to
the
another
logs.
host. I can move it to another
Yes,
host if I want to, and all that should be really easy to do.
yes, yes. The DigitalOcean, they make sure they don't see your like requests and all this stuff. They just make sure that your server is secured. So there is no any harms. They protect you from any third parties like attacks and all this stuff. That's the only thing but they don't see your requests and any logs coming to your server. When you host the LLM, for example, on DigitalOcean, it's the same way. They don't care what you host there. You can host any model. They don't know actually what you host, like you're hosting this model. They just give you space in the cloud, and they make sure that this space is protected, secured from any third-party attacks and all. And they give you also the way that you can access your cloud hosted model, your server, and you can integrate this into Open WebUI, like because we are talking about hosting LLM, open source LLM models. That's why you will be able to integrate it into Open WebUI interface.
Great. All right, this is awesome. Love it. Okay, so basically your question is around so in terms of hosting everything, hosting Open WebUI, which comes with my Chroma DB and everything I need to run that, simple and straightforward, easy. Hosting a open source model that I want to use within my own private cloud, which for now we're talking about Llama 70B. You have some questions about the power of the CPU for that.
Yes. And okay, share my screen. So this is now I'm showing you the config for creating virtual space in the cloud from DigitalOcean to host your Llama 3.1 70B model. Host Llama 3 70B model. This is the minimum system requirements that your hosting provider needs to have. And here the prices from DigitalOcean. We need this one. This is the cheapest one that you can get. 168.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I'm hoping to I don't want to pay $168 a month really. I would pay that, but I would prefer not to. But also I'm hoping to create something that can be used by other people as well, as inexpensively as possible while still meeting our, other requirements around ownership, privacy, and control. I guess the first question is, it is possible, it sounds like, to host Open Web UI and everything I need with that in one place like DigitalOcean, but then host the AI model somewhere else. Yes. And I can still
They
have
don't
all the same.
like you can host your open source model on any hosting provider. If you
Yeah.
don't like DigitalOcean, for example, you see this expensive, you find something cheaper. Even if you can host this locally, just expose the URL, make the URL HTTPS publicly available. You can integrate this to your Open WebUI. So
Yeah,
it
because
doesn't.
I mean, for $168 a month, I feel like I could probably get a computer that and storage that has that type of you
You
know.
can get, but then you need to maintain all the security
Right, true.
over yourself.
Yeah, and that's one thing I forgot to mention earlier also is that the security of the local system's an issue too, that we don't have to worry about as much if we're dealing with one of these cloud providers. I'm wondering about Amazon Bedrock. Are you familiar with them at all?
Uh, you can, okay. They're all like most of them, they're Linux systems. Any of them, like their hosting provider is Linux system. This is also Linux, and where I can choose even the OS version which I want to run. With Google Cloud, it's the same. Amazon is the same. The only difference is they have their own like libraries that you need to call the right methods to deploy it. I explained to you before. I'm not using Amazon because I use mostly work. I work with the Google Cloud. But if you want Amazon, I can quickly look at their documentation and we can deploy it to Amazon too.
So it doesn't necessarily have to be Amazon, but uh the
Why you don't want Google Cloud? Like, because I know I compared them all before with Amazon and DigitalOcean and all. Google Cloud provides you the best in terms of options, of paying options. Like you're
it's
not paying here, even if you don't use this, you will still have to pay this. Like if you choose,
right, and
let's say,
that's why I think where you're going with this is with perhaps Google Cloud and perhaps Amazon and Azure, we can pay like by the request, so it'll be a lot cheaper, right? Because they're just hosting the models and we're basically just renting space on that, but it can still be done privately and securely via our own private cloud.
all
Yes.
doing that. Amazon just have some hidden costs. I don't know. When you say like, yes, you create the server and they're telling you you will be charged only for the time that you use it, like hourly usage. And okay, that's fine. But then there is some other costs including like storage usage, for example. And for that, it doesn't matter if you use it or no, because it's always stored there. And it becomes, and they have a lot of options like this. That's why I
Okay.
switched, like I made this decision, switched to Google Cloud, and I don't have any problems with them.
Okay, and this should be really inexpensive on Google Cloud, yes, to use one of these
I can look at their pricing and I can tell you like because we need also this is the minimum system requirements, and maybe to get the most performant we can get even more spec for this. But because you will be paying there by hourly usage, so like it depends. I guess you will not be using it 24 hours per day, 30 days a month, right? You will be using maybe how many? No, maximum 2 or 3 hours per day in total.
Yeah, I mean, I right now I'm chatting with this, I would say during the workday. So for me, sort of 8 to, 6 p.m. ish, probably once an hour or more. Um, but at night I don't use it very much, and obviously when I'm sleeping I don't use it at all. But there may be cases in the future where we're building agents that are, leveraging it 24 hours a day. I don't know.
Okay, so
But
then
but I
things
I guess just to think through this a little bit more, I'm not so worried right now. This is kind of the least important for me. Local, if I can run models on my computer, because I'll upgrade, maybe I'll get like a desktop Mac with some more powerful, beefy hardware so I can run at least the 8B model, etc. If I can run, if I can use my own local computer for things that I want to be really private, and then I can just use, Grok or Together AI or whatever. Um, that may be fine for now. I don't know that we necessarily need to set this up right now, certainly not for $168 a month.
okay. Okay, let's
What do
see
you think
for
this would cost on Google, I guess, before we move on from it?
let's see first from Amazon. I
Well, it's
will
going to
just
be Bedrock is what I've heard from Amazon. And the two, to answer your question, why not Google? I think the first reason is because Google is one of the primary, it's really, Google, OpenAI, Microsoft, as the main big tech competitors for this. I mean, I know Amazon has their own models, but I don't think anybody looks at them as a serious competitor. Number one. And then number two, I know a lot of the businesses that I talked to and worked with in the past use Amazon and use AWS already. So I think if we ever wanted to offer this as a service to businesses, they're going to be already using AWS a lot of the time. So those were the reasons.
Yeah, Amazon Bedrock, it's their LLM API. So it's not the service where we can host it.
Okay. Um, and what do you think this would cost to deploy on Google?
Deploy. Can tell you after because now I'll have to look into their. Okay, maybe here we can use their calculator. Okay, yeah, this is very. I think this is not fully configured yet. But for the for the minimum, I think this is the CPU, 8 core, 32 gigs of RAM, and number of requests per month, 10 million requests per month. Each request is duration of each request is 300 milliseconds. I guess maybe this is going to be more. Maybe it's going to be 3,000 milliseconds. If it's 3,000 milliseconds, then it's going to be 100.5 per month.
What is
This is
the
going to
estimated time per request? What does that mean?
how long it takes. Like if you ask how long it takes to resolve your one request. So one request will be if you send to this model like the word hi, how long it will take this open source model to respond back. They calculate between the times from until the requests comes into backend to this LLM and then until it resolves. Usually it takes maybe, it depends on the model itself too, but it's going to be less than this is 3 seconds basically.
Okay, so you can set this up on Google Cloud pretty quickly from what I'm hearing, correct? And then the cost is going to fluctuate based on how much I use it, right? So we'll know as we go along and we can sort of monitor how much we're spending.
Yes, and see here we have this option we can choose. So this will be allocated only during requests.
That's what we want. Yeah.
That's what we want.
Yeah, so I'd say set it up on Google Cloud. Because I don't think, you know, if it's too expensive on Google Cloud, it's probably going to be too expensive everywhere. You know what I mean? If we're using on Google Cloud and it's like 20 bucks a month or something, then we can maybe look for an alternative if we feel like we really need to. But let's not waste time setting something else up that you're not familiar with. And like, let's set it up here. it'll be good to have it set up here, because a lot of people, if we ever do decide to, offer a service like this to businesses, like I know businesses do use Google Cloud, so it's fine. Let's start with Google Cloud.
Okay, but initially, why you're not like you're against Google Cloud and you prefer Amazon? Why is that?
Because Google is like the primary, like, let me show you here. Stop sharing for a minute. So this is my post that I shared with you a while back on the war for our digital brains. So like these are the companies that are like the main companies, and Google's a main one. And then, I'm talking about the war against big tech, all of this, et cetera, et cetera. And then it's like, who's the best position to kind of own the digital brain? It's Google, right? They have all of the components needed for a digital brain. They have the data, the devices to feed. This is what they're building. So again, I understand that it is unlikely that Google is pulling data from their private cloud to train their LLMs, and that would, but that's a nuanced point for someone that is not technical. You know what I mean? And that's my audience, right? So I'm trying to avoid having to explain that nuance point to people because my goal here is to make this as easy as possible for non-technical people. And I'm telling you, I'm reading all this stuff about Google and big tech being the enemy and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, oh, but we're hosting the private AI at Google. Like, you understand, like you and I know, but the average person like is not going to understand that. Like what you would have to understand to get why that's not a problem is way beyond what the average non-technical person understands, right? Um,
Okay,
so that's a reason. I think AWS is also problematic, but it is less problematic than Google because they aren't one of the main leaders, of the AI race. And I do think most people who've worked in a corporate setting that I know, they've worked with or know about AWS. Their company hosts stuff there, their company hosts private information there. I just hear less about Google Cloud, in the corporate space with the businesses and people that I've worked with in the past. So I think it's an easier thing to explain with AWS. But this is not a huge like issue right now. I don't want to get too hung up on this. And all I want to know right now really is how much is it going to cost for me to access my own private model? And then we can decide whether it's worth it or not. And then we can take the next step here. So let's just, if it's easy enough to set it up on Google Cloud, let's do it. Let's figure out how much it costs, see how it works, in Open WebUI. Is it even good? You know what I mean? And then we can decide what to do from there.
okay. So then we still have to host Open WebUI somewhere. I will deploy your Llama open source model on Google Cloud for this testing period. And then Open WebUI is going to be hosted on DigitalOcean, correct?
Yes, and well, assuming it's cost effective, yes. My sense from the little bit of research that I did around DigitalOcean is, they're pretty price competitive for website hosting and application hosting. So I'm assuming they'll be price competitive here or no?
Okay, we still have to use the same, like they have different cloud services, and we still have to use their cloud service called Droplet. It's like basically a Linux server. It's the same server that I showed you before. Of course, it's going to be cheaper. Okay, let me share my screen. Let's say if you choose the basic one for OpenWebI, because there is not much, it's just the front-end application communicating with your backend. So if you choose this regular disk CPU option, so is this fine for you? Like $12 a month?
Well, why not six?
But we still need more. You're running two applications there. Open WebUI, even if it's like just a front end, you see it as a front end, but it has two applications. One is front end and one is back end, and all communications to any third party APIs go through backend, not through front end. So it's like more secured way, and they separated the logic, I guess. But it's still two applications
Okay.
for Open API only.
So you think that the $6 a month plan is not powerful enough, basically?
No. Maybe if you not use it much, this is fine. But from what you described, I think you will be using this regularly, and you don't. I think this is the will be bad experience if you feel it like it's running slowly.
Okay, so you have right now the 20. I want it to be fast. So is $12 a month going to be fast? Okay. Yeah, $12 a month is fine.
Yeah, so you're choosing again. Here, I can suggest you go to with Google, but you don't like Google. So maybe let's move at this point. Let's move everything to AWS because you know AWS, and we can host Open WebUI with AWS and your LLM also with AWS because they have at least some free tier that I guess that you will not hit this free tier. Like with Google Cloud, this one I shared with you here. They have free tier, and I think they give you 2 million execution per month, request per month for free. If you hit this limit, then you will they will start charging you money. Same, I guess, with AWS. They have this free tier. It's different than Google's.
Yeah, AWS would be my preference, for all the reasons that we've talked about, but it's especially if it can be done cheaper. In fact, because basically, like, if people can start for free, you know what I mean? Like, that's huge, right? And
Yeah,
actually, it sounds like they could actually start with Google with $300 in free credits too, right? So that makes it a little easier to explain. You know what I mean? It's like Google's the enemy, but they're going to give you $300 to like try this out and blah blah blah. Like, why not use their money? But AWS I think would be easier. I think for websites, like AWS, like everybody I know who hosts a big website does it through AWS, and I used AWS, but I was paying like $5,000 a month or something for AWS, but I had a big website, you know.
uh, okay, from my experience, I know AWS, and most of the clients I had, they were like most of them on Google Cloud, and they're also like big, like they have big websites and many applications. It's not just one application, and they have different mini backend servers and all the stuff. Some of them host on AWS, some of them host on Google Cloud Run. From my experience, I find Google Cloud it's much cheaper and it's also transparent in terms of pricing. You don't get this hidden costs. With AWS, I heard many times that they have this.
Hidden costs.
Yes, like not hidden costs. Like for example, you have free tier. You subscribe to this free tier with Google Cloud. When you subscribe, you get first of all, it's if you're first time, you get 300 for free. You get $300 credit, and you start using it and it's fine. With AWS, when you sign up, I think they also give this credit for free. I don't remember how much. I think $100, I guess. But when you start using it, yes, they're telling you, oh, you can use your credit and you have free tier. But at the end, you still end up paying something per month because they charge you not for this whatever they give you for free, but for example for storage space or for requests that you send. Here with Google, we don't have this. Like it's all clear.
I mean, that's nice. You know, that's a big deal.
Okay, then let's go with AWS then. Okay, I will review the Amazons, but I will also need you to create account, same as you did with DigitalOcean, and invite me there. I think this is what we will be using for Amazon.
I'm just thinking about the $300 credit because that's a big deal. Um, you know what? Let's use Google. Let's set it up on Google. You already know how to use it. It's $300 in free credit. Like that's a big deal. I can just say, you know, it's they're paying you to use it. So, you know, you can set all this up for free. I've already used my $300 credit, I think, but it doesn't matter. And eventually, like, I want to be able to show people how to set this up basically wherever they want. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't, like, if you don't want to use Google Cloud, here's how to do it on Amazon, here's how to do it on DigitalOcean, here's how to do it wherever you want to do it.
Microsoft Azure, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, let's do it on Google Cloud.